Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Please watch my videos. Let's get right into it today. Today I want to talk about breakups. I want to talk about getting dumped, having your heart broken. It can feel like the worst pain. Worse than a broken arm, worse than cracked ribs. It can really hurt, especially if you don't see it coming. It's one thing if you see it coming, you can still have a broken heart. If you've argued for months and you know this relationship is circling the bowl and finally it just goes down the drain, you can still feel upset. But when it hits you out of the blue and you feel like it's so one-sided, man, that's the hardest. I've been there more than once, unfortunately. I've never been a master at relationships and I'm still learning. You're always going to be learning, especially about relationships. You'll learn your whole life. These people that give advice on YouTube, there's plenty of people that give relationship advice. It's not that it's not good advice. These people just don't have everything figured out. Nobody's a master at this. Nobody has perfect relationships. Every relationship has their problems, and every person has their issues and their problems. And it's really just about when you come together with somebody, do your problems match theirs? Can you put up with their bullshit just like they put up with your bullshit? That's why compatibility is so important. That's why getting to know somebody before you start committing towards moving in, bank accounts, getting married, these types of things, having children, these types of things that tie you for a long time, it's good to really get to know somebody and see if you're compatible. It's been one of my failures. I've jumped in with women. I can fall in love real easily, apparently. I'm a big sucker for chicks. Having a broken heart can feel like stabbing pains. It can feel so awful. And really the end result when you walk away from being dumped is that a lot of times I've felt worthless, unworthy of love. Like I'm not lovable. And that's a terrible place to be in because then you get depressed. You really have to catch yourself. You have to strengthen yourself. And even if you're the strongest person going into a relationship and you're really on top of your P's and Q's, you really have a lot of game going, you really have things figured out, so you think, because we all think we have things figured out more than we do, really, but say if you do, you can still slip into a place of feeling unloved and not worthy when somebody rejects you. Rejection is hard. It's a really hard thing to go through. And the way that I've dealt with it in the past, because I've been rejected quite a bunch of times, is to, number one, be humble and to look at my own flaws and to fix the areas that I feel that are within me that I think, because I'll do a self-assessment and sit and think like, well, what went wrong? And you're going to point to a bunch of things outside of yourself. She did this, she was that, she was the other thing. But then there's going to be a couple of things in there where you might realize, hey, I guess I could have been around a little more. I guess I could have been a little more loving. I guess I could have done this or could have done that. Those are things that you can work on. So don't beat yourself up over those things. Just look at it as I have work to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't enjoy having problems. I wish I was perfect. I'm far from it. But I enjoy the process of making myself a better person. So when I identify flaws, and I identify them quite often, it's not that I get excited and happy over those things, but it gives me, some food on my plate. It gives me something to work towards, and I like to work towards being a better person. So allow yourself to be humble, allow yourself to identify the things that you did wrong, and actively work towards making those things better. What you don't want to do, at least in my personal experience, is it hasn't been helpful for me to go to my friends. You can talk about your breakup with your buddies or your go-tos, your homies, whoever, your family, whoever your support system is. That's fine to do, but it's usually a lot of venting, and they're going to get sick of that after a while, and they're going to think that you're asking them for advice, and a lot of people will start pushing their advice on you, and you have to be careful with those type of conversations, because a lot of people project an image onto others where they think they know you. They've known you for a long time and they think they got you pegged. They don't. And especially when it comes to relationships, because that's something personal that only happens really, not only, but large part happens behind closed doors, away from your support group. They're not involved in your relationship. So they don't really know. And when you get the kind of external advice from your friends, if you go to them and say, well, geez, what went wrong? And I'm so upset, and what do I do? Let that shit go in one ear and out the other. I don't even go and ask those questions. I do internal work. And the best cure for a broken heart, they say time heals all wounds. I don't believe that. The best cure for a broken heart is self-love. You have to truly love yourself. And what does that mean? It means you have to do it on a multifaceted level. You have to take care of yourself, like a parent who loves a child. It's not enough for a parent to just say, I love you, son. There's actions that parent takes to take care of that child in ways where that love is shown. And you can do this to yourself. So we may neglect ourselves normally as we're going about our daily discipline, our programs, our productivity, our work, just getting through our day normally. A lot of people aren't actively engaged in a self-love mindset when they're doing those things, when you're paying your bills, doing your groceries, shopping, sitting there at your work. You know, you're in another mindset. But when you got a broken heart and you're really upset about it, about losing a relationship, that's when you really have to practice self-love the most and to really take care of yourself the most. So get good sleep. Surround yourself with only good people. Don't be around those friends that we all have. If you have a large circle of friends or even a small one, there's always going to be one or two people in it that maybe you don't always get along with, that you argue with, that they might make comments and jabs, and you can get along with that shit fine when you're feeling nice and strong and play the game with them. Take a break from those types of people. Only surround yourself with your true friends when you're going through a broken heart, because they're going to be the ones that are sympathetic and that understand, you know, that you're hurting, and they're not going to push your buttons and fuck with you. You want to stay on top of your program. You don't want to shut down, so you want to stay on top of your mind, body, and soul program. I mean, I push this in all my videos, but it's really important when you have a broken heart. You want to stay on top of your productivity. You want to keep busy, and not just mindlessly busy, but you want to be able to target things, activities that help you grow and help you love yourself. So it's a great time to get into spirituality if you have any kind of interest in that. It's a great time to get into learning. It's a great time to read, to watch videos that matter, that you can learn from, get, you know, psychology and philosophy and, you know, all kinds of topics that you can really make you think, and try to use the information that you're learning towards bettering yourself and empowering yourself. You want to stay busy, because the more time that you sit around wallowing in your sadness, the more time that you're going to spend thinking about not being worthy, thinking about weak thoughts. If you're uncontrollably weepy and crying and all those things, I have a whole nother video about how to empower yourself when you're feeling in those types of ways, when you're having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and those types of things. And for me, not only diet is important, because some of the foods we eat can physically make us depressed, because the food is like a drug, and there's different foods that can induce certain chemicals in your body that will be very similar to symptoms of anxiety or depression, bring you down. So you want to be eating healthy, but you also want to be exercising. You may not feel like it. You may feel weak. All you want to do is sit around and cry and be upset and be alone and isolate. You have to fight beyond that. Remember, you're a warrior. And in the worst times, this is why we train in the best times, because when the worst times happen, the warrior is ready. Now, it doesn't mean the warrior dances into battle. That sword may feel heavy. Putting on that armor may feel heavy. It may feel like a burden. You don't want to, but you don't have any other choice. I truly look at a broken heart as if you're fighting for your life. Because I've been the type of person in the past where I've been so devastated by breakups. I've been dumped so hard and I've fallen so far. And oh God, I could just go on and on about stories about some of the breakups I've been in. And I didn't deal with many of them too well. My go-to reaction when I would get dumped, and I'm not just talking about a fling, but when you're really in love with somebody and the relationship breaks up and you didn't want it to break up, I've become more of an alcoholic. I used to drink a 6-pack or maybe a 12-pack a day. I'd start drinking a case and then finish the case off with a gallon of wine, or move on to hard liquor, do cocaine all night. Any kind of drugs that were put in my face, I'd do more and more and more, and just inebriate myself and pacify myself and just kind of dull the emotions. And that does not heal you. That broken heart will still be there, and it'll come back when you sober up, and all you're going to have to do is get fucked up all over again. That could go on for years. I've known guys that have committed suicide, gone homeless, ruined their lives off of one breakup, and 10 years could go by and they're still whining and crying about that chick. And sometimes it can be frustrating because you're like, God damn, move on. But they're not able to take care of their wounds properly. It's like having a bad cut. It's not like a scrape. Like if you've ever been cut deep, if you don't take care of a deep cut properly, that could be bad news. So this is kind of the same thing, because this is internal. So self-love is the key. And everything that goes along with a self-love mindset and program. That is, you're going to get up out of those cold, icy waters of depression, dry yourself off, and go walk over to the warm water pool of self-love and jump in that pool and swim around in that pool. And make that your life. And it may take a couple weeks. It may take 6 months. It may take you a year. Who knows? But whatever. Don't trip on how long it's taking you. Just do whatever you can to take care of yourself. Because for me, the point is to not fall backwards, to not allow traumas or shit that happens out of my control in my life, shit that, because shit's always going to happen. And that's why we train like warriors. I don't want to go backwards to being a weakling. I want to be able to have the tools in my toolbox to fix any kind of problem. I want to be able to have a weapon in my weapon room for any kind of battle that I need to fight. You get it. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to hurt less. What it means is that you're going to survive it in a more healthy, productive way. And the goal is to move on, to eventually find somebody else, to maybe find somebody better. And that's one of the things. I don't want to go too long on this video. I could talk about this topic for hours, so maybe I'll make a couple videos on this as we go along if this is a popular topic. But you want to be able to put things in context. Hindsight is always 20/20, so the faster you can move on and to heal those broken heart wounds, the clearer you'll be able to see your own flaws and hers or his, whatever you're about. But I've idolized women in an unhealthy way in relationships and figure, oh, this woman is so perfect. She's an angel sent from heaven. I love her to death. I love her to death. Next thing you know, we're breaking up a few years later. And if you're stuck in this mode of thinking she's so great, she's so perfect, nobody's perfect. Relationships are a two-way street. Loyalty is a two-way street. And sometimes it'll take you a minute to snap out of your emotional state, to see in an analytical state, hey, wait a minute. And I'm not talking about seeing stuff like, well, fuck that bitch, because you'll be in that mode right away. A lot of guys will snap into that mode right away in order to mask their own pain. I'm talking about seeing actual real stuff where you see, wait a minute, she wasn't an angel. Maybe there's somebody better out there. Maybe this was just practice. Practice for the next one. Practice for that one true relationship that I'm ready for. Now I'm ready. I truly believe, and I'll end the video here, that nobody's really ready for their soulmate, if there is such a thing, or a really wonderful relationship. You're not ready to get into a wonderful relationship that can last, that you can be married to somebody for 20 years, 25 years, the rest of your life, to die with that person. You're not ready for it unless you have had your heart broken, and had your heart broken miserably, and you've had to claw your way out of that, and to pat yourself off, brush yourself off, and to move on in a healthy way. People that can go through that process, they are then ready. They are now ready for what's true, for what's real. Because relationships can be difficult. It's not always going to be wonderful. So I hope some of this was helpful. Self-love heals a broken heart. Thanks for watching.